True.
One thing that has inspired me as a leader is the most important task for a leader is to make yourself redundant. And if I'm able to do that, if I'm able to make myself redundant, set up systems, set up processes that can work for themselves, I think my job is done. And then I think the person in me or the child in me looks out for new challenges. And that's how in Hyderabad I started my own digital marketing agency.
Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast series presented by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors, where we bring you conversations with some of the most influential minds in corporate leadership, governance, and strategic growth. In this episode, we are honored to have a visionary leader in digital marketing, brand strategy, and corporate innovation, Ms. Archana Purohit, a fourth generation entrepreneur, growth hacker, and angel investor with over a decade of experience in media and digital marketing. Starting her career in print media as assistant editor and bureau head at Franchise India Media. She later transitioned to digital platforms and founded Digital Ozone in 2018, a successful digital marketing agency that served over 100 brands during the pandemic before its acquisition by eYantra Industries in 2021, where she remained CEO until December 2023. In 2025, she co-founded agency Adda, an AI-powered marketplace revolutionizing collaboration between service providers and seekers, and authored agency Adda, the ultimate agency blueprint, launched at the New Delhi World Book Fair 2025. Her achievements earned her Business Mint's 40 Under 40 Award in 2025. An ISP alumna, Archana is passionate about mentoring startups and continues to drive growth and innovation in the digital landscape. I'm your host for today, Priya George, and I'm excited to speak to Archana. Today, we deep dive into her inspiring journey and her take on the future of digital branding and the leadership lessons that have shaped her path. Join me in welcoming Ms. Archana Purohit to FaceTime with Leaders. Archana, we are so glad you could join us on FaceTime with Leaders. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, without further ado, let's get straight to it. Archana, every successful leader has a story, one which is filled with ambition, challenges, turning points, and moments of triumph. So, looking back at your incredible journey from media and content to leading high impact digital marketing and corporate branding ventures, if you had to describe your career path as a story with its own chapters, one, what would the title of your book be? And second, what were the defining moments that shaped the leader you are today? We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you, Priya. If I had to title my book, one of my books I have already titled, it's called Agency Adda. But if I have to title the book and my career journey, I think it would be Reboot and Restart. Because that's practically what I have done through my career in the various roles that I have taken as a leader. As a young journalist, I started out with my father's newspaper, The Hitwad, which is a 100-plus-year-old newspaper in central
Wow.
India. And I come from an industrial family, a business background. So growing up, we have seen things happen a certain way. But from the word get go, or from the moment I wanted to enter the business, my idea was to digitalize, to change things around, to make things more contemporary.
Right.
And mostly, the youngest kid is given the broken toys to play. So a lot of challenges were thrown at me, which were probably not very important or at that point of time in the business. And I have enjoyed that challenge of taking up things, turning them around, and making them workable again. And this would not have been possible if I would not have had a prudent and agile attitude towards the roles that I have taken. Moving
Right.
on, I moved to Delhi where I was working with Franchise India, and I wanted to have that experience of going beyond my comfort zone. So that is another thing which has always excited me. With Franchise
Mm.
India, the time I was with them, I helped them set up their Mumbai bureau head. So again, Mumbai was a very important center for business magazine, but they were not able to set up a team there. So my 2.5 years with them was basically setting up an entire editorial and marketing office for them in Mumbai, and I was the youngest bureau head for them at the age of 24 at that point of time. It was
Incredible.
a challenge I had taken. It was a time where you have a lot of energy and you are working with
Mm.
things on your you're working with your hands, and you are making things happen, you are filing stories, you are doing a lot of things. And that was the time, around 2012, when entrepreneurship was on the rise in India, and that
Right.
made me interact with a lot of entrepreneurs, and that's when I realized that being one is more exciting than writing about one. And that's when I pivoted back to my family business. I had gained huge experience, and I will be grateful for that opportunity always. I'm very close to the Marias, they are my mentors. But moreover, what I learned from there is how a new age media business should flourish and work. That gave me the
Right.
insight to come back home, work with my family business, digitalize the newspaper, convert all the reels and all the roles that we had into something that is digital and we can save. So we worked and we saved about 100 years of films and templates that newspapers had, the printing templates, and we digitalized everything into CDs and drives and discs. So that was a mammoth task, and I also got our e-paper started during that time. So I have, like I said, rebooted and restarted a lot of things. So
Right.
that has been my strong suit. Post that, I got into consultation because I saw that opportunity. I moved to Hyderabad, I got married here, and it made
Okay.
more sense to do things on my own and
Right.
independently. Uh, because once you set systems, you are not needed there. So,
True.
one thing that has inspired me as a leader is the most important task for a leader is to make yourself redundant. And if I'm able to do that, if I'm able to make myself redundant, set up systems, set up processes that can work for themselves, I think my job is done. And then I think the person in me or the child in me looks out for new challenges. And that's how in Hyderabad I started my own digital marketing agency. Because at that point of time, I thought that's the way I can work with a lot of businesses and help them digitalize and revolutionize. Because the time 2014 to 2018, 2020 was a time where a lot of new age businesses or smaller businesses were trying digital marketing, but a lot of industrial and family businesses were still running away from digitalization because they were feeling that
Correct.
the control is going away from their hand and it's going into the hands of the users. So that digital transition and transformation journey, I have been part of 100 plus brands during that span. And I can proudly say that during that time when only 1 out of 10 digital marketing agencies could survive the pandemic or the hard time,
Correct.
we were agile, we were on our feet, we were taking up new opportunities, learning while we were doing things. And that's the time we got almost 150% profitable than what we were. And that helped us support our team, our people. That's when I realized how important connecting with people and your team is,
Mm.
more important sometimes than connecting with your customers. And that led to the acquisition offer by eYantra Industries. And though I did not need to get acquired, but for me, I wanted to taste that corporate journey. I wanted to understand how corporates work because I was always working with family businesses or startups. So
Right.
my time with eYantra taught me the importance of governance, and how you can change a traditional business system also. So they were a traditional merchandising business, and I helped them digitalize their journey also via hyper personalization of merchandising for corporates. uh, so this has been my journey with them. I took a year's gap to put my thoughts together, and that's when in 2024, the year I was working on my book, which is now out. I was also working as a mentor with startups, because once you achieve a lot of things, you want to look back, give back, and share that knowledge. So,
Right.
and while all this was happening, I realized that both as a service seeker and a service provider, I understood that there was a gap which needed to be fulfilled. And that's how the marketplace idea came into being.
Right. Right.
So, again, with the marketplace, I'm trying to reboot and restart and structureize something that's probably not in place right now.
Uh, but I'm sure, like given your, your track record, but there were a few things that struck me in your response. The first thing is the title of your book. When you talked about the title, which is Reboot and Restart, in my head, I processed it as learning and unlearning, which is something that's really important for us as humans to kind of adapt to, new situations and new people and environments and such. The other thing that struck me was you are a fourth generation entrepreneur, and you took back your learnings, which is trying to digitalize a print, where newspapers were printed, and you try to digitalize it. Um, I had a question for you. Was there any resistance to the idea that you put forth to the board members or your family members when you put forth this idea? That's something that came to my mind.
So, I think it is not change if it is not resisted.
Oh, that's
So,
yeah,
definitely, anything that is going in motion and the way it is going, and if you would try to change it, there will be resistance. If there is no resistance to your idea, it truly means that you're not bringing up anything new.
ancient. True, true.
So there has been resistance, there was strong resistance. There are still moments of resistance even today when I am still part of the board, and I still, uh, take part, maybe not in day to day
Right,
activities, but certain larger decisions, and look at the overall marketing and growth,
right,
digital growth part of the journey. And there is still resistance. Any new idea that we'll put will have resistance. The way forward and what we have been able to meaningfully communicate to all the stakeholders and finally drive is that let's judge value over belief. You can
correct.
have a belief that this will not work, but you have to counter it with value, that if this changes, what is the value it is going to drive. And if you have a well meaning board and a well meaning management, instead of 2 weeks, it might take 2 months, it might take 6 months. But if you have your values defined and quantified, most importantly, in data,
Right,
then it is easier to implement and convince.
right. So your responses are a lot of quotable quotes. The one that really struck me was, when you talked about uh, there is no change, if you're not bringing in change if there is
No
no
resistance.
resistance. And the second one was a leader is not really doing their job if their job doesn't become redundant. So when you created such an effective team that everybody, it's like a well-oiled machine, to the point where the leader can sit back and really doesn't know what to do is when they know that they've been really effective. So thank you for those.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for sharing your, career path, your journey with such candor. Archana, being a fourth generation entrepreneur is more than just continuing a legacy. It's about honoring the past while carving out your own unique path at the same time. Now, growing up around business leaders, you must have absorbed invaluable lessons, but at the same time, you had to bring your own vision and innovation into the mix. How did your family's business background shape your leadership style? And were there moments, we touched a little bit upon this in the previous response, but we'd like to hear more. And were there moments where you felt the weight of tradition while trying to redefine your own path?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Priya. And uh, apologies if I'm repeating myself, but I very
No, it's okay.
strongly believe that if there is no resistance, then the change or the things that you are trying to bring in the motion are not effective enough. They are probably the
True.
same, just worded differently. So, one most important lesson to probably all the second generation or third generation entrepreneurs, and I coach and I work with a lot of second and third generation entrepreneurs, especially around succession planning and things like that. The most important thing is you have to work and balance out value and beliefs. So, there are going to be strong
Hmm.
belief systems saying that हम तो ऐसे ही करते हैं
Correct.
या यहाँ ऐसे ही होता है या
Correct.
a very crude way in India that traditional businesses or business families clad is they clad their beliefs or disbeliefs by covering it with culture that this is our organizational culture.
Yeah.
So
They
very important,
say
yeah, very
they say
important.
why fix something if it's not broken? Like that's
Exactly.
also
Yes,
something. Yeah.
yes. So very important thing here is example of Kodak as a company,
Yes.
right? Example of blueberry, um, blackberry, sorry, not blueberry,
Blackberry. Yes.
blackberry, right?
Yes.
So when we listen to these examples, we know that you have to change before the time comes because change takes time to adopt, change takes time to build on things, and most
Right.
important is you have to word it around value and data. So when you
Right.
are working with generational knowledge, the only thing you can bring on the board initially is how you interpret data and how you build your strategy around it, because ultimately a business will always be not around numbers, it will be built around people.
Mm.
So another very important factor is you have to account for all the key people and you have to
Right.
understand who are the people who are important, who are the people who are probably not so important right now, but their knowledge and belief and legacy is important. And then you kind of move them into leadership roles and create space for doers.
Mm. Mm.
Because
Understood.
as simple as that, no matter how experienced a coach is, he will not be able to go and run between the wickets the way a
True.
young sprinter will.
Absolutely.
So you need to have a
Absolutely.
balance of both type of people in a team. You know, you will need people who are high on energy, who are high on making change and making the difference. At the same time, you need people who will
Experience.
anchor with their experiences.
True.
Once you
Makes
learn
sense.
to balance that, so in my journey as an entrepreneur, what I told you the most important task for a leader is being redundant was a line that was told to be by our editor, Mr. Vijay Fanchikar.
Okay.
He's the
Okay.
chief editor of the newspaper for over 40 years now. He's been around before I was born, and during my early stages he nurtured me, and he used to give me a task every day, a book to read, something to summarize. And one fine day, he walked up to me and gave me a piece of paper. What is the most important task for a leader? And I grilled and grilled over it for a week. And then he told me the most important task for a leader is to become redundant. And that's something that has
Stuck with
stuck
you.
with me, and that defines me. So, whenever you are in a situation where you are working with generations, please understand that you give them that leadership position and you take the role of the runner.
Right. Right.
That way you
Delegating.
will, that way you will be able to drive things faster. You will have to do
True.
it. If you being a second, third generation entrepreneur, you will take a leadership role and you will ask a older or a more senior teammate to do the running. The task will never be done.
I agree. I
So
agree.
your war and you choose your warriors. So that's what I did when I went in and I wanted to digitalize the entire process. I went in with my team, my set of people, without disturbing the structure and hierarchy of the existing business.
Right.
So
Uh,
ultimately, it's people. If they don't feel threatened,
True.
if they feel cherished, they will
True.
support the cause, and then you will create that hearing space where they can listen to your data, they can listen to your strategy, but that space, that wedge needs to be created.
Right. Right. And that's such a powerful reflection because there are two key points I took from your response. One is the power of foresight, being able to predict changes, future changes. And you gave two examples for that. The other thing that struck to me was while proposing a change, I think value, but backed by data,
Yes.
which is important. And the third thing also was identifying, strengths of team members and allocating them responsibilities accordingly, and the amalgamation of experience and new ideas and new energy. So I think that makes for a very powerful concoction. And so thanks, Archana, for sharing that with us. It's incredible how a legacy can be both a guiding force and a challenge to redefine in your own way. Moving on, now achieving 120% media turnover growth, and optimizing marketing funnels across multiple industries is no small feat. And it takes not just expertise, but a very deep understanding of different markets, consumer behaviors, and the ability to adapt strategies on the fly. So, from fintech to luxury retail, each sector comes with its own challenges and nuances. How do you approach crafting marketing strategies that resonate so effectively across such diverse industries?
So the key to understanding diversity in marketing is to most importantly understanding human behavior and not just industry trends. So as a marketer, I think the most important thing I have looked at every role, and largely most of my roles have been in and around marketing or customer facing. So most important is to A, understand the human behavior. B, you have to break down your proposition into a story. So we are all very conducive or very absorbent to stories we listen to. So it is
Hmm.
very important that you break it down into stories and you remove the jargons. So in my role, one of the biggest clients that we worked with was Zaggle. Zaggle is India's first fintech SaaS based company that has gone into
Hmm.
IPO, and
Okay.
I have been instrumental in leading marketing for them. So
Okay.
when it comes to fintech, fintech was about 4 or 5 years ago still a very new word in India.
Okay.
Probably people thought it is UPI payment and things like that.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
And they had a big business statement that Zaggle is what is Zaggle? So Zaggle is in a fintech company. It is a B2B2C fintech SaaS fintech company that helps in increasing employee benefits and helping in business transactions and get loans. So this was
Okay.
their statement. The first thing I did when I got there was, it does not explain what you do. So let's break it
Okay.
down. And in a session where we sat with everyone and we broke down, we came
Hmm.
to a very simple statement: business spends simplified. So this
Okay.
build all type of business spends, and in business spends automatically there is B2B, there is B2C, there is B2B2C also,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
sometimes the most easiest way to market anything is, how are you going to market it to a 5-year-old?
Oh, okay. That's
If
fascinating.
your business and if your marketing statement can explain a 5-year-old what you do, today's 5-year-old, that is, I don't
Hmm.
know, Gen Alpha or whatever, if you can explain it to them what you do, you've nailed your marketing.
That's interesting. Could you explain like why? What's the thought process behind this? Like,
Because a lot of times when we put a lot of jargons and when we complicate our
correct.
communication, the focus is away from the product and on the language,
True. True.
right? And there will be
Right.
obviously people who would want to look smart and they'll be like, yeah, yeah, I understand this.
Hmm.
How much of it they will remember? How much of
Correct.
it will they carry? Amul. You walk on the street,
Right.
Amul, the taste of India.
Absolutely.
Taggle,
So,
business spend simplified. The smaller and the simpler it is,
right.
the larger
Right.
your reach will be.
Makes
Even if it
sense.
is luxury, something like Apple, even Apple is obviously considered luxury, but it is now turned into a necessity
True.
because their
True.
motto is they want to simplify the user experience.
True. True. Makes
And that's
sense.
the difference between a BlackBerry, where they showed all the suited, booted BlackBerry men
Hmm. Hmm.
and they positioned themselves. And here, Apple positions itself today, where they say that you can make an entire movie on Apple. You don't need anything else. What are they doing? They are
Right.
simplifying things, they are deconstructing all the noise around the marketing chaos.
And wider audience, wider reach.
Either
It's not
audience,
targeted to a particular.
yes,
Yes,
it's
Archana?
showing basically a kid, a college kid, can make an entire movie.
Yes.
It is deconstructing it to that level that you probably don't need 50 lakhs rupees or something to make a film, or you don't need thousands of rupees in editing. You can do
True.
everything
True.
here. That one
Yes.
device, no matter how overpriced it might seem to other mobile phones, but that one device will help you do it all.
I agree. I agree.
When they
Yes.
had
You.
iPod, I don't know, but I mean, you would be aware of the iPod era when the iPods had just come in. It's like
Yes.
1,000 songs in your pocket. I remember that being the first ad I saw about an iPod before I got crazy about it. And I was like, I don't want anything in the world, I want this. So that's how they market.
Yes.
3,000 songs are in your pocket. It's not relevant now, but
Absolutely.
at that point of time, those
It
MP3,
was.
it was a huge deal.
It was a big jump from MP3. Yes, I remember.
So I think
Yes.
the most important task for a marketer is, or something that I have always held close to myself, is to simplify things. Today, I am building a marketplace that's an AI based marketplace, connect service seekers to service providers. And if I make my 9-year-old stand here, he will be able to explain you what it is. Because he keeps
It's
asking me,
great.
and I keep
Hmm.
deconstructing it for him. I
Hmm.
realize that I've got my buzzword.
Got it. Understood. So you unlocked the key. I mean,
Hopefully, hopefully.
but that's such an powerful perspective, and it's so fascinating. You just uh, made it sound so simple. Like even when you were explaining, it's like if you can explain it to a 5-year-old, I think any it's you reach a wider audience. But I really love that perspective. So thank you for sharing that with us, and the way you navigate such vastly different industries with precision and insight, I've got to say, is commendable. Archana leading digital innovations across industries, um, takes incredible agility and insight, like I mentioned earlier, while each sector has its own unique audience and challenges. In your experience, what is that one universal marketing truth, the core philosophy that guides your approach, whether you're building strategies for a tech tech-driven financial brand or a luxury retail powerhouse? You talked about being able to explain things to a young child. Is there any other strategy that guides your approach, regardless of the project at hand?
Second most important thing is how you let people engage and interact with your brand. That is very, very important. And that is something which is evolving. I cannot tell you one mantra. Maybe I will tell you use UGC. Something else will come tomorrow. I tell you use influencer marketing. Something else will come tomorrow, right? So it's very,
Right.
very important that you stay and walk the path that your user or your audience is walking. So it's very
So are you
important that
talking
you
of
have
user
data.
interface?
No, not
User,
not alone user interface. It's basically understanding where your audience is, engaging the maximum, and that's where
got
it's
it.
very important to have data in hand.
Hmm.
You can
Hmm.
simplify a message, you can amplify a message, you can do a lot of things with your messaging. But most important part is how your audience is consuming data.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that is something probably 5 or 10 years ago, it was changing every 3 years. Today, it is changing every 3 months.
Right.
So it's very important to have a lean and learning team.
Right.
And your team should be a mix of your audience, because that's when you will be able to really deconstruct a problem irrespective of the industry, and then you build upon it. And you have to be where your people are and connect with them on that level. So those are very,
Understood.
very important things.
Okay. Yes, that
And you
that
have to
makes
build
absolute
digital
sense.
properties around it. If you are a B2B company, you have to build leadership. You cannot be about without it. If you are a D2C company, you have to build engagement with your users. You cannot
Makes
survive
sense.
without it. So for each industry, though industry and trends are important, understanding the psychology, the most
Hmm.
important part here is once you understand what your customers need and you change it into their want.
Right. Right.
That is the most important part. And that's when you'll be able to crack any industry, marketing, sales, business building.
Hmm.
It's about understanding. And even when you're starting a new business, this is very important. You understand what is the problem, what is the need of the hour, and how you build a product or a service that makes it the want that they want to have it.
Makes sense.
So,
Makes sense.
so that's most important. And these two things: A, simplifying the messages, and B, identifying what is the need of the hour, are two very important things. And you need to have data, and you need to have a lot of data to back you to help you take those strategic decisions.
Right. Right. Um, it's incredible how, despite industry differences, Archana, there are foundational principles that truly make marketing impactful across the board. And you talked about simplifying and then knowing whom you're catering to, knowing your audience. Um, Thank you for those insights for our listeners. Archana, just a few months back, a couple of months back, you co-founded agency Adda. So that's like your, baby, and you've already accomplished so much in your career. But I can't help but wonder what's next on your horizon as you look ahead. What are your future aspirations, both in terms of business growth and your vision for leadership in the boardroom? So,
Yeah.
if you could shed some light on that.
So, when you ask what's next for me, to be very honest, when I stepped down from eYantra, I wanted to collect all my thoughts and build something that helps me solve problems. Like I had said earlier, it's basically that transition where I understand that there is a need and I want to change it into a want. My 1 year has been largely building on that belief, building foundations for agency Adda. And like you say, when you come back the second time, you want to come back stronger, right? My journey
True.
with digital ozone, with eYantra, when I was building things ground up, there were
Mm,
certain challenges that I had faced in terms of governance, in terms of compliances, in terms of having the strategies in place. So,
mm, mm,
my idea with Agency Adda is to build something that's stronger from the core and which has all
mm,
these elements, plus it
mm,
solves a problem that nobody else
mm,
solves, and it has come
mm,
very naturally and organically, not
mm,
not something that I wanted to start something and then I started thinking about it. I wanted to journal my thoughts, write the
right.
book, and the book led me to the conclusion that all these things, all these problems, all the things that the startup face, though it can be put together in a book and a journal, if
Mm,
we create an ecosystem
mm, mm,
that can change
mm.
that mindset and
True.
bring in governance, bring in discipline, bring in compliances, probably at a level where you bring that discipline down to probably a small 5 people agency or a 3 people startup.
Right.
That's when I think the job is done. So it is definitely building Agency Adda, but like I said, I want to build Agency Adda in a way that it builds and works and functions without me. So I have created a core team, I have built the foundations, and it will roll from here onwards. Moving on, I am very passionate about change management. And I feel
Okay.
that if I am on board with a company, with my understanding of compliances and governance, which I have learned over the years with experience,
Mm,
I will be able to help them guide change, guide digital change, be more agile, be more prudent, and work their way around in a more stronger way.
right.
And hence this path. And I understand that there'll be a lot of startups who will not be able to afford a board position or an independent director, or who are yet to reach that structure. For startups
Mm,
of that level, I work with T Hub, which is India's largest incubation center, as a mentor,
right.
and I guide them pro bono in the initial years,
Right.
which will help them build their strategy and why they are doing what they are doing, understand the processes better
Mm,
from day one. Because a lot of them, especially tech startups, have really good ideas, really great products. Where they fail at is marketing, allocating of funds for marketing.
mm,
So these are the areas where I would want to step in and make a difference as a part of the board member, or help them run their governance and compliances in the right way. At the same time, being digitally agile and
right.
on the front foot with digital change
Right.
management.
Right. You specifically talked about change management, and recently I came across this quote which said, procrastination uh, is basically fear of change, and it's not lazy. Because whenever people think procrastination, they think lazy, but procrastination is nothing but fear of change. And that's interesting that you talked about change management, because I think it all stems from there, right? Once I think since we are dealing with people at the end of the day, once that changes, once we talk about the value in adaptability, then I think different systems and policies and processes will be a lot more smooth sailing. So it's incredible to see how your journey isn't just about personal success, but it's also about creating lasting impact and shaping industries and building something that extends for far beyond yourself. Archana, in the excitement of building and scaling a business, governance and compliance often take a back seat. You talked about this in one of your visions for yourself in the previous response. Until you know a challenge arises that forces leaders to address them. In your experience, how can corporate leaders integrate governance and compliance frameworks early on, ensuring that they just don't meet regulations, but actually create a culture of transparency, accountability, and long term success?
Yeah. So, when we are talking about governance and compliances, I agree that a lot of companies struggle with it. They will suddenly put a board into place, or they will suddenly start working on compliances once they think that they have reached that level. Now, suddenly they need to change things. They suddenly need to meet all the checklists that are given to them. And at that point of time, it's too late. And at that point of time, if you will try to bring in governance and compliance, it will always seem like an upheaval that you've done in the organization. Suddenly,
Correct.
people who are comfortable will feel uneasy and they'll be like, what is this? This is not needed. But they need to understand one thing, that governance and compliance should be part of your core strategy.
Hmm.
And it's not a top coat of paint that you paint over a building and present it. So it has to be something that's going to be part of your foundation. And if you work it like that, in that manner, you will be able to build a more resilient organization from day one.
Right.
Because ultimately, no matter how much we talk about AI, tech, change, digital age, companies and organizations are run by people at the core,
True.
right? And
True.
what
Makes
you feed
sense.
into the system is what you're going to reap.
Makes sense.
You as an
Yes.
organization, if you as a leader, how much difficult it will feel in the beginning. Follow your compliances, follow your regulations. You will be able to build a strong culture that moving forward will pay you back.
True.
Hence, I
True.
feel that governance and compliance and following the ethics of doing business are something which is very important, and it is a non negotiable part for me. This is also something that I take in from the legacy business that I have inherited. I have seen my grandfather, my father follow the rules and regulations to the T. Even no
Hmm.
matter at some point of time they seemed difficult.
Hmm.
But once you follow the right path, scaling at any level is not a challenge. If you are faced with any discrepancies, any people issues, any financial issues, if you are on the right track, it will never fall back on you. You will be able to build from wherever you start. So I believe, like I said, I would like to summarize it, that the most important approach, or the approach I would take and I would propagate others to take, is that work backwards. Understand what is the governance, compliance, regulatory requirements, and build
Got
up
it.
from there, and
Backward
not the
planning.
other way around. Yeah.
Right. Right.
This is
And
the
it's
forward planning. People usually do the backward planning.
so this you said would be a forward planning, like
Then this is the straight wave up.
right.
Your
Got it.
first
Got
step
it.
should be your governance, your
Yes.
all your statutory requirements.
So going back to basics is what you're saying, like understanding all of that and then starting
Then
forward from there. Is that what you're saying? Okay, all right. And it's true, good governance isn't just about ticking like regulatory boxes, so to speak. It's about creating a culture, something which, values that you have imbibed, from your, parents and your grandparents as well, and the culture in your company, where businesses thrive on trust, transparency, and strong leadership. As we near the end of this very insightful and effervescent conversation, Archana, we cannot leave you without asking you this question. You have stepped into Directors Institute, and it is a significant milestone for any leader looking to strengthen their expertise in governance and boardroom strategy. As someone who has recently joined, what has your experience been like so far? We'd love to hear from you.
So, like I told you, for me, the choice to join Directors Institute has been about working on my foundations as a leader. So, I And in my journey as a leader, I have understood that there are certain learning gaps that I need to fulfill. And when I looked at your curriculum, Directors Institute's curriculum, and the way it is spread, and the learning system and the platform, um, there was no second thought in my mind. I was like that I want to learn and I want to make sure I am meticulous here before I commit myself. Because, like I said, the change begins here with you. If I am
Right.
not particular, if I am not well taught, I will not be able to differentiate good decision from a bad decision, or a correct choice from a non-compliant choice. So hence,
Right.
I want to imbibe this learning. And for me, it doesn't stop at Directors Institute. About 2 years ago, I did my MBA with ISB again. And that's my third
Okay.
master's that
Wow.
I have done. So for me, I think learning is a very, very important part.
True.
And now, when I have learned a lot of things and I want to take part and position myself as a board of director, I think I would not do it without being sure that I am ready for it and I am worth it. So
Absolutely.
that's where I think Directors Institute helps me define my worth as a board member. So hopefully I come out in flying colors.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's really great to hear. It's always fascinating to see how programs like Directors Institute have can add so much value to even the most accomplished leaders. And it's clear from our conversation that you are a lifelong learner, you are a visionary, and you have incredible foresight. You are unafraid of challenges, and I'm sure we can't wait to see what your career path looks like in the years to come. And but what an incredible conversation this has been, Archana. Your journey from media and content to leading digital transformation, redefining corporate branding has been nothing short of inspiring. And your insights on leadership, your quotable quotes, governance, and innovation have given us so much to think about. And I'm sure our audience will walk away with valuable lessons they can apply in their own careers. So, thank you so much, Archana, for being on FaceTime with Leaders and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Priya. You've been party to this great conversation. The way you've interacted, I think the quality of the content, equal share goes to you. Credit goes to you
Thank
for
you
that.
very much.
You made it
Thank you.
very conversational and very interesting dialogue. So thank you for your efforts and time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in to another episode of FaceTime with Leaders, brought to you by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay connected for more insights from industry leaders such as Archana, shaping the future of business. This is Priya George signing off. Until next time, keep leading with purpose. Thank you and take care.